Yep.
Ooh, yeah, that's a countdown. Good.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Recovery Files. I'm here with George Plesniak. George, we've had the pleasure and opportunity of working with some of the most talented people in the field of addiction treatment. I believe from a delivery of services standpoint, we learned so much from our patients and our colleagues, much more than we could ever learn in a college textbook. What are some of the things that you've learned by example through some of the people that you've worked with over your 25 plus years in the field?
Yeah, that's a great question, you know. Wow. So the majority of my experience, as you know, has been residential care. I spent 98% of my years in this field has been residential care. There's something about residential care that I love. I love the excitement of it. I love spending time with the patients. But what I learned very, very early on that I've truly grown to appreciate is the beauty of a team. You know, I was never going to be that guy that wanted to go into private practice, largely because I love working with colleagues. I love feeding off the energy of other people, learning from them. You know, one of the things I always say that I've learned in being in the field for 30 years is that I don't have all the answers, right? So it's so nice to, you know, hear other people's perspectives and just really enjoy that whole idea of being part of a team that's responsible for guiding and having the honor to be invited in on a patient's journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with the team component too, because we're helping some people in early recovery that are
Right.
exploring their worst days ever.
That's right.
You know, and we're walking them through that, and sometimes we can absorb some of that, and that's why I'm a firm believer in the importance of a strong team and supporting one another so we can better support those
That's
that we
right.
serve.
I mean, in essence, we're modeling for them what we're trying to teach them, and that's the importance of, you know, I alone don't have the solution. We have the solution, and let us all work together and respect one another. So, to me, it's a win-win.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. You've been in this field for a long time, and we have the privilege and opportunity to watch people come back to life in front of our very
Oh,
eyes.
wow, yeah.
We get to see firsthand that hope come back. How would you best describe an instance of hope where you've seen somebody?
Wow, that's a great question. I mean, to me, isn't that why we do what we do? You know, like I always tell people, we have the greatest gift. We have the greatest job. We get to sit front row, front center of watching the best of humanity. You know, watching somebody who truly comes from a broken place have the courage to put their life back. I always say it's it's an honor to be invited into their life. I think about most recently, a gentleman I worked with, his name was William, and I talk about him a lot because he had a profound impact on me. I mean, here's a guy who grew up in a very difficult environment, one in which was just fueled by drugs and violence. And at one time, he was one of the biggest drug dealers out of the city. And by his appearance, he was very tough looking. I never forget the first day I met him, he wore a baseball hat down to his eyes and kind of had this body language, right? And I can remember thinking if I would have judged him by that, if I would have judged that book by that cover, I would have missed this amazing story. And the story goes a little bit like this. Here's a guy who, yes, he grew up in that environment that was so ripe for addiction. And at one point, this guy gets sober. He finds the God of his understanding. He educates himself. He becomes a certified welder, becomes a top speaker in Narcotics Anonymous, helps tons of people relapse, and then that's how he came to me. And I could just remember thinking, if I would have judged this book by that cover, I would have missed that incredible inspirational story that gives me hope. You know, people change. You know, even in the worst circumstances, people can change. and they become the best version of themselves. And isn't that an awesome thing to see?
No, absolutely. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we do in this field is we deal with a lot of people and personalities,
Right.
whether it be patients, whether it be colleagues. What sort of tools do you use to help navigate people and personalities? Because let's be real, there's a lot of people with a lot
Absolutely.
of personality.
That's right. You know, I think that that's where my experience, I think, plays a role. First and foremost, look, when I was in management and I was hiring therapists, you know, to me, their resume got them in the door, but I needed to feel from them or sense a passion and a genuineness. Like those two things are, they're worth more than it to me in any certification, right? Like I want somebody that is, like if you're truly genuine with your patients and they sense that passion, that in itself breaks down barriers. I'm a very big component. For me, I use a lot of humor. I think humor is one of the best gifts that man has. I mean, I just think that it helps us through the most difficult times. And to me, humor is really good because once you know the personality styles and you know which kind of humor to use, it sets the stage for you to kind of go in the back door. Because in most cases, head-on confrontation or head-on challenging is just counterproductive.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, particularly with the patient that's new to treatment and new to substance use disorder therapy, right? You know, one of the biggest obstacles is fear. And I think one of the things that cannot be taught inside an institution or a college classroom is the ability to meet people at the level of their needs. And our patients come in with all sorts of needs. And being able to connect with them, whatever it may be, that they realize, I could learn from this person and I now have hope, which is critical for recovery because you can't do it unless you come to believe that you can.
That's right. Well, see, and that's it, right? But see, to me, that's the selling point of a recovery program, right? I mean, that's the selling point of a support system. Everybody has scars, but our scars eventually become beacons of light and inspiration for other people. You know, when we all embrace our scars and we change and we stand in front of the people, not literally, but naked in our truth and say, look, this is what I've done and this is where I'm at. It breeds respect and it helps one make peace with their own diagnosis. So I'm a big advocate that scars, you embrace your scars because your scars are inspirations for somebody else. And look, every way, and I think you and I both agree on this, every theory and every way that you look at all this kind of stuff that's out there on helping the addict, everything points to the interpersonal relationship between one addict helping another addict. It's so critically important. We alone can't do this, but we belong to a tribe of people that are working to become each other's inspiration so we can make peace with our own diagnosis and become and work collectively together to become the best versions of ourselves. It's amazing.
Absolutely. I believe in the simple approach at times, and that's a microcosm of the recovery community as a whole, that the new guy asks for help, and there's those that came before him that are willing to help, right? Regardless of what the experience is, that experience can be not only valuable to that person, but the person that comes after that.
That's right. That's right. And how can we not be touched by that? You know? I mean, that's why I always say, like, you know, I feel like 30 years have gone by sitting in my seat, and I'm in awe of, I don't know if I really understood at the onset of my career how life-changing my life's work would be, right? And there's one of my favorite quotes that I use in lectures a lot is from Jung. The meaning of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there's any reaction, both are transformed. I mean, I think that just describes everything that we do. You and I, you know this, like when you're doing a lecture or you're working with a patient and you see that light bulb go on, you yourself walk away with something that touches you beyond just an interchange. It touches you deep, you know, and God, it's just, I just feel so privileged. You know?
No, I couldn't agree more. With those light bulb moments, we can literally and figuratively see them connect the dots in their own minds and something that they've been struggling with for years. And then it's, wow, I see it now. How can I not see this before?
Yeah.
You know, I now have hope. Let me ask you this. Can recovery be fun?
Oh my God. Like, it has to be. I mean, what are we fighting for if not? Like, once again, like, I love humor. I think that, you know, I want to be very clear when I say I'm an advocate of meetings, sponsorship, home group, all these things, you know, that are the cornerstone of recovery that I respect highly. And in addition to that, I feel like we have to address lifestyle stuff. Like, how are you going to have fun? You know, we live in a time right now where if you're older like me, there's adult kickball leagues and there's adult dodgeball and stuff like that, that to me, it hits the physical fitness aspect of one's recovery, but it's also an outlet to have fun. And so to me, absolutely, I think it is our responsibility as facilitators, especially people who are new to recovery, and showing them that it can be fun, you know? And there is ways to, I mean, look, one of the things I tell my patients is that you could do almost everything that you've done for fun in recovery. You just have to have a different strategy, right? Like you and I both share the love of music. I'm just obsessed with music. Unfortunately, God has not given me a good voice, but I love music, and I see live music at concerts all the time. You know, if there's someone that has that love, you know, you go with people in the program, you go with safety plans, but you could still do it, just have a different strategy. It's important.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel that music is such a powerful tool in recovery. Sometimes it can describe for us what we're incapable of describing for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that emotional identification, right? We may struggle to verbalize it or externalize it, but sometimes music can capture those feelings for us. What song would you say describes addiction and or recovery the best that you're aware of?
Wow, that's a great question. You know, first, before I answer that question, I love what you said, because, you know, I think that people listen to music for different reasons. You know, my main reason is I love storytellers. I love people that can tell a good story. Yeah, but some people listen to music just for the I don't know if this is the right word, but the musicality of it, the beat, or but for me, you know, it's always been about lyrics and the artist saying something in a way that you wish you could say, right? So when I think about active addiction, of course I'll probably go to my favorite band. But there's a song called Chameleon Boy by Blue October. And what I love about the lyrics is, and I can't remember the exact lyric, but it's something like, here I come to you to tell you that I'm a mess. What kind of mess I mean? It's that type of gasoline that robs you from being your very best, or something like that. And I just love that, because it really, to me, describes, you know, addiction robs us. You know, it's not who we are, and it robs us from all the beauty, the light within us, and takes it away. So for active addiction, I would say that, oh God, for recovery, there's so many great songs, but for recovery, for me, and even this song doesn't have anything to do with recovery, it's more about the feeling of it, is Cat Stevens' Peace Train. You know, it's a very important song to me, because when I was a kid, my father would play that song. You know, I grew up in a very small home. We didn't have a lot of money, but my parents had gotten this really giant stereo in his wooden cabinet for their wedding. And it was a prized possession, and it was oversized for the tiny little living room. And my dad would put on Peace Train, and I can remember as a kid sitting on the floor, and I could smell lemon pledge, because my mother used to pledge, use lemon pledge on the wood. So lemon, I'd smell lemon. And the way my house was positioned, we had a big window and the light would come in, and I'd watch the dust kind of dance in the light. And I can remember that song just makes me feel so peaceful. Like, I hate to say that because it's called Peace Train, right? But it made just the cadence of the song, it just felt so warm and good. And I guess that's what I relate recovery to. So,
That's great. I'm over here getting chills as I can actually feel what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think using music to express our emotion is one of the healthiest things we can do. For a little peek behind the curtain, we're about the same age or close to it.
Yeah,
you know,
you look
one of
a
the
lot
things that
a lot younger.
well, we both remember cassette tapes, and
Oh, God, yeah.
we used to open it up, and there would be the verses in there, and
Right.
that was my